Hello friends, happy Monday. Today is the first Monday of the holy month of Shravan, and obviously before somebody thinks something else, it is the third Monday of the holy month of Shravan too. Okay, today's news topic, we are going to talk about the satellite market. Now, satellite market, first of all, for every satellite, if you want to throw into the orbit, you need a rocket. Without rocket, what is the use of satellite? So, and if you talk about rocket, one of the best rockets, workhorse rocket, is the Falcon 9. Falcon 9, SpaceX, of course, SpaceX owns that rocket, and SpaceX has said that they are going to retire Falcon 9 in 2032. So approximately 6-7 years from now, and that has sent shocking waves across the satellite industry, because right now SpaceX has 10,000 satellites, and they have proved that it is possible to put so many satellites in the LEO, which is low Earth orbit, and create a legitimate business. So imagine, there must be millions of entrepreneurs all across the world thinking about new ways to do business with satellites in the LEO orbit. But what is the use of those businesses and those satellites if they cannot be put in the orbit? And the reason, what's the reason? What's the reason that Falcon 9 is retiring is because Starship is coming. Starship is the big daddy of rockets. It is the largest flying object, and SpaceX is testing it right now as we speak. They already have done 13 flights of Starship, and in the 14th flight they're very close. The one of the biggest problem was the heat shield problem, and in the last flight of Starship, Elon Musk confirmed that looks like heat shield are withstanding the amazing heat, right? Terrible heat that it encounters when the rocket enters the Earth's atmosphere. So tiles are looking good, and looks like they are very close to solving the heat shield problem. So that is one reason. Big Daddy is coming, Starship. What is the use of having Falcon 9? And Falcon 9, whenever it retires, it is going to go into the iconic place. It will have an iconic place in the history of rockets. It is just like Maruti 800. If for the people who are old enough, their first love was Maruti 800. It's a nice car, small car. It keeps running. People are happy. Does the job. That is what Falcon 9 is. Now, why are they retiring Falcon 9? You would say, why can't they keep it? Because rocket launch business to the low Earth orbit is a low margin business. They are nothing but a glorified truck driver. So you can see all those truck drivers, right, in India and in America, who are moving stuff from one city to other city. It's a very low margin business. SpaceX is not interested in low margin business. For example, SpaceX earns only 12% of its revenue from launches. Imagine that, only 12%. Majority of the revenue it earns from Starlink satellite. So the Starlink satellite that SpaceX puts on Falcon rocket, it gives the internet all over the world, and people are paying, I think, $65 a month to get the internet. That is where SpaceX is making a lot of money, from the satellites, not from the rocket launching. So, for example, out of 7.8 billion of revenues of Starship, of SpaceX, 4.3 billion was from Starlink satellites, and 12% of 7.8 billion, do the math, 700, close to like 800 million was from the rocket launches. So SpaceX is now saying, we don't want to do rocket launches for other people because margins are very low. And that is one reason. Second reason is that the biggest internal customer of SpaceX is SpaceX itself. So SpaceX has two subsidiaries. Now they are not subsidiaries because they all merged together. But let's just call them subsidiaries for this discussion. One is Starlink, or one division of SpaceX is Starlink, and other division of SpaceX is XAI, which is where your Grok, if you are using Grok, that is the birthplace of Grok. So in coming years, Starlink version 3 satellite, which is bigger satellites. So right now there is version 2, 10,000 version 2 satellites in the orbit. Starlink has created version 3 satellite, which is bigger. It cannot fit into Falcon 9 rocket because it is small. So version 3 rocket, version 3 satellite is going to fit in Starship, which is a big rocket, and SpaceX plans to launch 100,000. So first it has to replace all the 10,000 version 2 satellites, and then it is going to go 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Eventually there'll be 100,000 communication satellites, and which is going to require a lot of Starship launches. And the second customer is going to be XAI. XAI is planning to have millions of satellites for inference, right? So these are AI satellites who will be doing inference. Now we talked about inference in the past video, but just a quick recap for people who don't know. There are two parts of artificial intelligence business. One is training the data. So you get petabytes and petabytes of data, and then you train the data, and you create the tokens and stuff like you create intelligence. So that is called training. For that, you have these huge data centers, like in Memphis there is a data center on the they require like hundreds of thousands of H100 GPUs from NVIDIA, and then you train the data. Once the data is trained, it has to answer the question. So when you ask the question, when you say who is the first Prime Minister of India, it goes to the database and Jawaharlal Nehru comes the answer. That process is called inference. So what Elon Musk is saying is that we will train the data on Earth, and then whatever the intelligence is there, whatever the token is there, we'll shoot it up to the AI satellites, and all the inference work will be done by the AI satellites in the orbit, and they plan to launch millions of them. Think about that. So basically what SpaceX is saying is that, hey, we have this biggest rocket, but we don't have capacity. We have to launch millions of satellites from the internal customer. And oh, by the way, it is not a good business to be. You don't want to be a truck driver, putting stuff in the LEO orbit and coming down. Low margin business, not interested. So it is very much simple like the Apple business. Apple makes chips. Apple is one of the largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world. But Apple makes chips only for one customer, Apple. Apple's one of the best operating system is iOS. Like one is the operating system in your iPhone is called iOS. Operating system in your Android phone is called Android. In your Samsung phone is called Android. iOS is one of the best operating system in the world, but it has only one client, iPhone. So iOS has one client, iPhone. The A17 processor chip has only one client, iPhone. Android has several clients, right? When Google writes Android, the Android has to run on Oppo phone, Vivo phone, Pixel phone, Samsung phone, Huawei phone, right? So what SpaceX is saying is like our business is going to be like Apple. We have the rocket, but our rocket is going to have only one customer. That is the internal customer, Starlink and XAI. And when we pay premium money for Grok, SpaceX is going to make money from there. And when we use the internet, Starlink internet, and when we pay monthly bill, SpaceX is going to make money from that. There is more money to be made from the business of using the satellites than the launch business. But here is the problem. Problem is Elon Musk showed everybody that you can do a lot of businesses if you have a lot of satellites. So from 2023 to 2033, 10 years, 37,000 satellites need to be launched. There are so many companies who are building these satellites, but now they don't know how to launch those satellites, and they're in great dilemma. Imagine you have all this bananas in the field, in the village, but there is no trucks that you need trucks to move the bananas from villages or farms into Mumbai city, right? But there is no trucks, and the rocket is the truck. So that is where the problem comes in. Now, who are the other truck companies? So one truck company is Starship, SpaceX, with its trucks. It has two trucks: a smaller truck, Falcon 9, a bigger truck, Starship, which they are still testing. There is Vulcan, United Alliance, UAL. United Alliance has the rocket named Vulcan, and then Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos's company, has a New Glenn rocket. But Vulcan has done only 2 military launches in 6 years. And New Glenn, which is the Blue Origin rocket, just exploded few months ago on the launch pad. So they are just busy fixing the launch pad. So it will be some time before they become as reliable as Falcon 9. Remember, Falcon 9 does 3 launches every week. Every 2 days there is one Falcon launch, another 2 days another Falcon launch. Imagine that. That is how reliable and regular Falcon 9 is. So, and if Falcon 9 is retiring, there is panic happening everywhere in the satellite business. There are other small truck companies who are still in the pipeline. God knows when their rocket will come online, but they are still, they want to be the transport company from Earth to low Earth orbit. Some of them are, there is a company called Stoks Space, their rocket name is Nova Rocket. Then there is Rocket Lab, whose rocket name is Neutron. Then there is a Relativity Space, whose rocket is Terran R. And then there is a Firefly and Northrop Grumman's partnership, whose rocket is Eclipse rocket. So all these rockets are under development right now. That is the beauty of capitalism, right? If there is a demand, people are going to work on that, right? People know that Falcon 9 is retiring, SpaceX is busy with its own internal customers. So, and there are like how many satellites? 37,000 satellites are waiting to be launched. So there is demand. So obviously these rocket companies are going to build the rockets, and hopefully one or more of them are going to have a very reliable rocket which will do the job of pushing the satellites to LEO, and they will be happy with the 12% low margin business, because it is better than having no business. And SpaceX is also happy. But here's the problem. Falcon 9 has become such critical rocket for United States and the world. And also, like, because of Ukraine war, the Western civilization cannot use Russian rockets, so they are also out of the market. So here's the question. The only question is, if will the government allow SpaceX to retire Falcon 9 after 2032? That is a question, right? If Falcon 9 retires and all the satellites and all those businesses in America are suffering, then maybe government will ask SpaceX to continue the Falcon 9 program. So what will happen when that happens? Will government step up and force SpaceX to launch the rockets? Who knows? Maybe no. If one of these companies have a reliable rocket, then there is no need for government intervention. So the hope is that let capitalism play, and in next 6 years, our hope is that there is at least 1, 2, or 3 companies who also have a reliable rocket like Falcon 9, who will take up this responsibility of launching the satellites. But right now there is a lot of panic in the satellite market business, because there is only one company and one rocket that does majority of the work, and that rocket is going to retire in 6 to 7 years. Thanks for watching the video. Until next time, bye bye.